Hey guys, just to kind of a wrap up on this project of these Amilcar upgrades, updates, whatever you want to call it. We're fixing some stuff on this. It wasn't quite right. I mean, maybe it was okay for a lot of guys, but since I had access to it, I decided, well, let's fix some things that I think need to be fixed. So we got the grill done. That looks pretty good. I brushed it with a Brillo, not a Brillo pad, a green scour pad to kind of give it a brushed aluminum look. Actually, looks pretty good. Couple little marks in there still, but hey, it's a Cyclekart. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. So we're gonna put a mesh in here later. Mike has a piece of material he bought for that. So I'll have you come look inside here. I rounded off these edges. You can see my arms, I got cuts all over my arms from this edge of aluminum. So I got that cleaned up, and then I moved the brakes up and forward where it was before Chris Kaufman had built this, to where this master cylinder was on top of the frame, and the pedal travel was goofy, just the way it was set up. I corrected that, but then I had it on the floor and realized your leg is too close to the steering wheel. So I just moved it forward. I put it up on top of here. I built a bracket underneath to elevate it and bring it all the way forward. So I kept the same bracket I built before. I just mounted it right there. And I put a little weldment underneath here, down here. There's a little metal there. You probably can't see it on the camera, but oh yeah, you can. So I ground off some paint and then welded that in place. So that seems to work better now, and I put a dead pedal in. You see that aluminum piece? We'll come around this other side. Maybe you'll be able to see that better. Take the steering wheel out of the way. So now there's a dead pedal here for your left foot, right here. Piece of aluminum. This is a 63 thousandths thick piece of aluminum I had left over as a piece of scrap, so I just bent it on the vise, riveted it to the floor, riveted it to the body. So that's the place for your left foot to go when you're driving, and then your brake pedal's right there. So makes it a whole lot easier. I like the dead pedal. I've got them in my other karts, and the reason I like them, when you're driving, a lot of times you don't need your brakes. You're just bumping along on a road, whether it's paved or it's unpaved, mostly unpaved, I guess, the Cyclekarts. So having somewhere to plant your left foot allows you to hold onto the steering wheel and plant your body. If you had both feet just floating on the pedals, it's really unsettling for a lot of people, to where there's not a seatbelt, right? There's nothing holding you in the car. The seats don't exactly hug your body, so at least I slide around a lot. I prefer to be planted in the cart, so the dead pedal helps. Just a simple piece of aluminum, nothing complicated. Then we rerouted the wire for the hose for the brakes. So this is a standard, motorcycle style hose. Is braided. It goes all the way through the car. Little fasteners holding it in place. And then this car didn't have a seat, or maybe they blew away, I'm not sure, but my dad had this extra seat, so I built these little brackets to keep the seat from sliding around, because you don't want it to slide into the throttle, because it was over here touching the throttle assembly, and initially we put it on some 2x4s, and that jacked the seat up way too high. So that sits in there nice now, in between those two pieces of aluminum. Pretty secure. What else did we do? Mostly just the bracket back here. Oh, a couple of things I want to mention on all this stuff. In case you don't already know. Any nuts and bolts you're using on these Cyclekarts, you definitely want to Loctite anything for suspension, and you want to use nylock nuts. Nylock nuts, this is a nylock nut. It has a little bit of plastic or rubber, hard plastic, inside the nut, and it locks the bolt so it doesn't vibrate loose. So that's just a good standard practice. If you're using standard nuts and bolts for like lock washers, not a good idea. Those things vibrate loose over time, and you lose pieces and parts. And you don't want to lose any suspension or braking components, for sure. Those are life critical. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Oh, let's quickly review the suspensions. There's another video I did on suspension, and I didn't really show you on that. So if you can get an overview, Stevie, of the Ackerman, and I'll get a straight edge here. Pardon the noise. So I put a straight edge on the ground. You can see how much space there is from here to here, right? So that gives you your caster. If you want to angle that backwards so that the car steers straight. And the other thing that this suspension has in it is Ackerman. So if you were to draw an imaginary line through your kingpin to the back of your axle, can you look down on top of this, Stevie? You want that to be offset a little bit. So normally they would be straight back, and your tie rod would be mounted, tie rod would be mounted over here where this bar is at, okay? So it's now mounted about an inch inboard, and that creates the Ackerman. So if we were to draw an imaginary line from the kingpin through the tie rod to the center of the rear axle, that's where your Ackerman, your tie rod needs to be attached to your arms, on your control arms. And that gives you, I'm not exactly sure what Ackerman does, to be quite honest. It's been so long since I've done that research. It's just good standard practice for any suspension that you're building. Can you see that okay on the screen? Okay, great. And then we also set the alignment on this. So the simplest way to set the alignment on this is to measure on these type of tires. So they got this little ridge at the center. You're going to measure from this point to the other point on the other tire, and then do the same thing on the back side of the tire. So on as far back as you can get underneath the car. And you don't want these to be exactly straight. I mean, if they're straight, that's okay, but if they toe in a little bit, that'd be better. An 1/8 to a 1/4 inch toe in seems to work really, really well. Helps it steer down the road. You can let go of the steering wheel and it goes dead straight. And that's what you want. You don't want these things to be squirrely. I mean, some guys think that's part of the characteristics of cycle karts. I disagree. I don't think there's any reason why these cars shouldn't handle nicely. Some guys argue with me about that, but, well, not argue with me, but have different opinions, which is fine. It's a cycle kart. Ultimately, if you have the bone stock Azusa spindles, like everybody's always used, with no caster, no camber, no nothing, it'll be okay. Will it handle great? No, it won't. But it'll be fun. It'll be swirly and twisty and part of the charm of cycle karting. It's just, or so I'm told. What else do we do? This kart's unique. It's really well built. I like the design. Let me take this hood down so you can see this body style. This tail is aluminum and really well built. The folks who built it, I can tell they use an English wheel because I see these marks in here. There's English wheel marks in here. You see the kind of the lines in the metal. That's from the English wheeling. And they welded the panels together to make it all one big piece. And it works pretty good. Looks nice. I like the hood, nice and tall, it's easy to get in and out of. He used metal or steel body panels on this. I'm not sure what gauge this is. It's fairly thin gauge, but you don't have to use aluminum. I use aluminum on almost everything I do just because I like it lightweight, easy to form, easy to handle. But you can certainly use steel. Steel's a lot easier to weld if you're going to weld panels together. And it's got a simple bend. It's got one radius bend here and one radius bend here. That's it. Everything else is flat. So super nice. I like the way this car's built. And the floor is pretty flush or level with the bottom, although it does have this offset axle or offset frame where you Z the frame here to get the body down a little bit lower. Get your body down a little bit lower than the axle, which is really good. I think the motor is also mounted below the frame. Let's see. Yeah, so the motor is mounted below the frame. That's to get the body, the motor down low in the chassis. That helps to get your body lines low so they look a little more realistic. Otherwise, they tend to be kind of tallish. So I think that's the end of this project. I think it went pretty well. We also marked, my dad actually wrote on here, on, off. We're getting so confused, that's on, so that's the running position. That's your kill switch for off. So if you don't run your cycle karts all the time, you might forget from time to time which is which, and you end up pulling on and pulling on and pulling on and forgetting that it's in the off position. So if you don't use a button, mark your switches. We use buttons on all our other ones, so they're always on unless you press the button and turn it off. So at any rate, thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, all that jazz, and we'll have more soon. Thanks for watching.